Well, good afternoon, everyone. This is an Education and Culture Committee meeting today where we will be discussing the FY22 operating budget and FY21 through 26 CIP amendments. We are going to go through these in order. I know that Councilmember Jawando will be joining us shortly, but I know that our first item is our Office of Community Use and Public Facilities, also affectionately known as CUP. We have with us the director of CUP, Ramona Bell Pearson, Patricia Vitale, who is the financial administrator with CUP. We also have Felicia Hyatt, fiscal and policy analyst with our Office of Management and Budget, Deborah Lambert, who's our senior fiscal policy analyst with our Office of Management and Budget, and let's see here. And we've got Essie McGuire from our Montgomery County Public Schools, who's a key partner with CUP, who is the Associate Superintendent of Operations. Ms. Yao, I will go ahead and turn it over to you. Welcome, Councilmember Jawando. I will go ahead and turn it over to you to walk us through the salient decision points in the packet. I know, and let me just say at the outset, and then actually I'll ask Ms. Bell Pearson if she has something to say as well. Look, with our facilities being closed, both schools as well as other types of recreational facilities, it has been incredibly hard for CUP. When it comes to managing, certainly understanding that the revenue that they typically would have received in a normal year was not what it was, but then also even in the recovery efforts to try and reopen some of our things, it's been challenging in balancing the needs between whether or not we have equity hubs, whether or not we have before and after care, whether or not we have school in the school buildings, and balancing that with the other types of programs that exist that folks want to utilize our county buildings for. And so with the very slim amount of resource that's out there in terms of building availability, it becomes even more of a challenge. And so I want to acknowledge that and certainly understand that this has been a trying year for everyone, and certainly one no less for CUP. And so we certainly appreciate and understand all the work that you guys have put in terms of trying to remain with your head above water, understanding that that is kind of an impossibility when you just don't have the revenue coming in. So we appreciate all of your work. Let me turn to Ms. Bell Pearson if she has any opening remarks before we begin.
Thank you, Councilmember Rice, and thank you to Councilmembers Jawando and Navarro. I'm very happy to appear today. I think we have a positive upswing on the way. I will say that I'll take this opportunity as we'll get more into the budget, I know, once Vivian starts that part of the discussion, but I wanted to take this opportunity to say I want to express to you how very proud I am of our staff. Our staff has been very dependable. They've been supportive. They've been very strong. They've been courageous. We have deployed staff to contact tracing, to test and vaccine sites, to being election workers, to being alcohol beverage service retail staff support, to other HHS functions, to community translations. I could go on and on. But I did want you all to know that we have been very dedicated as a staff, even though community use has not been active and it has obviously affected our budget significantly. Our staff has not stopped working and we have been very dedicated. And I just wanted to take this opportunity to say that, and then I'm sure I'll have the chance to respond to questions.
Well, thank you very much for that, Ms. Bell Pearson, and really want to send a shout out to you and a lot of other department heads that are out there who made sure that although we couldn't necessarily utilize our employees in the typical way that they were, transitioned quickly to supporting many of the other functions throughout county government that needed to respond to the COVID crisis. And so really appreciate you and your workforce for continuing to support those efforts. So with that, let me go ahead and turn to Ms. Yao to go ahead and walk us through the packet.
Good afternoon. So for fiscal year 22, the executive is recommending total expenditures of $8,502,633 for CUP. It's a decrease of $3.3 million, or about 28.3% from the fiscal year 21 approved budget. The executive is not recommending any changes to the number of positions or FTEs, and all that is included on the table on page 1 of your packet. Council staff has identified several key issues for the committee to review, and those are racial equity and social justice, revenue and assumptions for the budget, MCPS reimbursements and fund balance, and future fee increases and fee study. So on page 2 of your packet is a table that just lists the various adjustments proposed by the executive. The first item is racial equity and social justice. Our office, the council office, is working with OMB to get responses from all county departments, and they were asked a series of questions that are listed in your packet in terms of whether the department collects qualitative or quantitative data, and how do citizens benefit from their program, and whether the program promotes racial equity. Council staff also posed those questions to CUF directly and received the responses that are included in your packet. Essentially, CUF collects data on gender, birth date, race, and ethnicity categories in their current data system, which they're transitioning to, but they will continue to collect that data. They basically respond that, CUF was instituted to make sure that everyone had access to public facilities. But council staff notes that, there is not an in-depth analysis about who are all the different groups or, users of public facilities in general. And despite the fact that CUF does have certain programs that support vulnerable residents, like the facility fee assessment program, the facility fee assistance program and the community access program, it's not necessarily clear how much those programs necessarily, overall increase the use of facilities by, certain members of our community. So council staff just raises a question about whether, what CUF would need in order to perform a more in-depth analysis, of users by race and income status, to see how widespread use of public facilities is in the various communities that we have in the county.
So let me turn to Councilmember Navarro first, our author of our racial equity and social justice law, to certainly give us her thoughts. Councilmember Navarro.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, the CUF team and everyone who's here today. My first question is, the facility fee assistance program, is that the Bill 12-15 program that was established? So that was the bill that I introduced, and that is that particular program. I wonder, because this is 12-15, so 2015. So I would like just to get a little bit of a sense of what the what CUF has been thinking. We have had so many conversations on the council, precisely, way before the racial equity and social justice legislation came to be, because we were all so concerned. I mean, that was kind of the genesis for this bill that I introduced in 2015, and it was unanimously adopted. Really thinking about how do we make sure that all our residents, especially residents who might be lower income or just simply, residents in areas where we know there's a lot of diversity, but not a lot of activities going on or access to our public facilities, to be able to align the needs of our constituents to the assets that we have, because after all, that is the whole purpose of public facilities. And so I guess my overall question is, has CUF begun the conversation about how will they promote racial equity and social justice? Because the two examples, one was council-led. I think the other one, I believe it was County Executive Leggett who first established for the Silver Spring Civic Building. So just wondering if these conversations are taking place. Are they going to take place? And then specifically for next year's budget, it is going to be critical to have more robust analysis than just kind of identifying, two programs, because there is a much broader approach and a much wider impact that CUF has, especially now as we begin to reopen. We look at what the school system demographics look like, what those families look like, and are they really having access? So just wondering Ms. Bell Pearson, if these conversations have begun, and are there any plans to begin to engage in that work in order to be proactive, which is really the impetus and the spirit of the racial equity and social justice legislation?
Sure, thank you for the opportunity to respond to that. We have started internally to look at not only the administrators within our staff that provide the service for this FFAP program, but we also have a racial and equity justice social activist or coordinator that's working with the Office of Racial Equity, and that individual is being trained to bring back materials, and we've had discussions about some training for the staff to educate and improve awareness, so that as we're doing permitting, as we're doing community outreach, as we're doing working with the facility providers, we are aware and we're able to pass that on and make it more sensitive and available. I will also say that we've been working with the Children's Opportunity Fund and with the Brown and Black Coalition related to the recent hubs that were put into place. And we're also working with them and with HHS to look at things. And I know I'm specifically talking about childcare, but this is just an example of one of the major services that we do have a need for, how we can put the services where they're most needed, where we're not seeing in the past services being provided. So things like childcare deserts and even activities, field use where there's lack of field use. So we're already looking at those types of things because those are the areas that jump out at us right now. I'm sure once we get into a more statistical and in-depth analysis, we're probably going to see things we didn't even realize where there were deficits. So that's how we've started, and that's the process that we're using. It's been very helpful that we had the $500,000 that continued beyond last year to be able to use to support the FFAP program, because that gave us the opportunity to reach even more communities and even more vendors. We've also partnered with the SON, the Street Outreach Network that has identified for us vendors who are specific to certain neighborhoods and have certain interests of activities that key with youth in areas that we haven't traditionally met. So we're starting to do some different outreach that we've done than what we've done in the past. And we hope that with the new software system that's going to come online, that will give us the opportunity to develop better statistics and understand what our demographics look like, that's going to improve even more.
Thank you so much for that. I hope that, we have decided that this budget process is going to be somewhat streamlined because of the, current situation, and we cannot stream, all at once, et cetera. But we did say that in the fall, we would like to, get more in depth into particular areas. And so, Mr. Chairman, it would be really cool to have a session because the COP really does cut across so many different policy areas. And I know departments are supposed to put together their racial equity and social justice action plans. So it might be interesting to just have a session to see how then we can weave CUP and help us leverage these assets again to assist in many of our goals in terms of reducing many of these particular disparities. CUP does play a role in that and a super important one. So I think, I would love to add that to the list of things to come back to and have a much more sort of engage a conversation and brainstorm a little bit about, how can we best leverage and really boost the presence of CUP and the role it plays in all of these goals. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you, Councilmember Navarro, and I couldn't agree more. And I know that, Vivian, you had noted that in your packet that, we would want to discuss some ways in which CUP needs to have that more in-depth analysis and make sure that we try and provide more of an understanding of how this space is being utilized and how it can be more equitably distributed along the lines of what you, Councilmember Navarro, led with both your bill in 2015 and the racial equity and social justice lens. It's hard during a pandemic to really do this. So I think from a timing perspective, it is appropriate for the fall. Understanding where we are budgetarily makes it difficult, but we know that this is work that we are committed to, and so committed to it legally, now by law. And so, even though we were always philosophically there, you can see by the legislation back in 2015 that was unanimous that we were there. So yes, we will definitely come back and schedule something for the fall so we can take a more in-depth. And so what we'd ask you, CUP, is in the meantime, also to gather more of that information to see what our successes are so that we can highlight those. And then also, like you said, Ms. Bell Pearson, the partnership with Street Outreach Network and others, let's start tracking and getting some of that data and information so that we can report on some of the successes we have and then start to understand some of the areas in which we still need to do more work. So that would be great. All right, Ms. Yao, back to you.
So for fiscal year 22, the executive projects a total revenues of about 8.5 million. It's a decrease of about 3.5 million or 29.2% from the budgeted fiscal year 21 level. And the projected amount is based on different assumptions for use, basically lowered use in fiscal year 22. So you'll see that in the table on page 4 of your packet. There's, for the first quarter for county government buildings, there's an assumption of 55% of the average pre-COVID revenue. And then as the quarters go through the fiscal year, it increases. Council staff notes that, that these are just projections, but we really don't know how much and how quickly community use will come back. And if these projections are not realized, there may need to be adjustments made to the CUF budget. So council staff recommends that the committee request quarterly reports on the level of public use and revenues realized in fiscal year 22.
Yeah, so Ms. Bell Pearson, is that something you'd be able to provide us, certainly so that we can understand as you trying to rebuild back and things are getting back to normal, but it certainly would be good to be abreast of what's going on from a financial standpoint so that we can quickly react if we need to.
Yes, definitely. And we've been working with our colleagues in the OMB as well as finance. So we're all on board on working on that.
Excellent. All right. Vivian?
Okay. So the next item is MCPS reimbursements and the fund balance. CUF is mandated to reimburse MCPS for the costs incurred and the services rendered in making their facilities available to the community. And a significant portion of the CUF's operating budget is used to reimburse MCPS for costs associated with community use. The table on page 5 of your package shows the reimbursements that CUF owes to MCPS in fiscal years 21 and fiscal years 22, based on the current it's the MOU that was negotiated in fiscal year, I guess, in 2018, but has now expired. So the table shows a total of 4.8 million for those two fiscal years, 2.5 in fiscal year 21 and then 2.25 in fiscal year 22, which is about 57% of the entire CUF budget and about 91% of the CUF's operating expenses. The department's fund balance, as the committee is well aware, has been going down dramatically during the COVID pandemic because of facilities not being available for use and fixed costs needing to be supported. So at this point, the fund balance is not sufficient to cover the amount that's due to MCPS in fiscal year 21, let alone the total reimbursement budgeted for fiscal year 22. The department ended fiscal year 20 with a fund balance of about 3.7 million, but as of middle of March, the fund experienced a loss of 2.2 million, with additional losses anticipated for the rest of the fiscal year. We mentioned that also there currently is not an up-to-date MOU between the two entities. And as a result, the county has not been able to issue a direct purchase order for reimbursement to MCPS in the absence of a negotiated MOU. Consequently, the chief administrative officer submitted a memo to MCPS superintendent and deputy superintendent requesting that amounts calculated pursuant to the now expired MOU the amounts owed to MCPS for fiscal years 21 and 22 be forgiven. He expressed, various hopes that that with additional funding from ARPA and from the county's, the county executive's recommendation to fully fund the Board of Education's requests, that these funds would help support the operations of MCPS. And he also explained that the fund balance will take some time before it recovers from the reductions realized during the pandemic. That the fiscal plan on circle 5 of your packet, I think it actually is circle 6 of your packet, shows that the CUF fund balance will be in negative for fiscal years 22 and 23, and that even by fiscal year 27, it still won't reach their policy target of 10% of total resources. So the committee may want to understand where things stand with the MOU right now, as well as hear from MCPS if they've had a chance to, decide how to approach the CAO's request.
So thank you very much, Ms. Yao. And so let me start off with a couple statements / questions, I guess. I always thought about the current MOU, even though it's not in enforcement right now in terms of it being a current MOU, as similar to WSSC, where it's always like estimated in terms of what the expenses are versus actual. Is that true in the sense that we have an estimate of what the expenses are versus it actually being what the exact amount of utilization is and the amount owed? Ms. Bell-Pearson or Ms. McGuire, you could.
Well, I'll take a step first, and then Ms. Vitale may want to have some input too, as our financial person. Many of the expenses are done in arrears or paid in arrears, and I don't mean that in terms of a negative, but it's
Right.
done that way based on the fact that initially we have estimates that we put into our budget to hold the money, and then we get the actual calculations and we pay them the next fiscal year. We have gotten to a point where some of them have slid to 2 fiscal years, and we had concerns about that. We've talked with OMB and with finance, and we have issues related to accounting principles and needing to make a change to that. And we actually have had discussions with MCPS about that, and I don't see that we have a conflict in terms of what we intend to do to rectify that situation. But Ms. Vitale may want to give more detail.
We don't ever request anybody to pay something that's estimated. So of the reimbursements that are due, they're all expenses that have been incurred. So the utilities were incurred in FY19, the custodial supplies were incurred in FY20, and for the other things, staff reimbursements and equipment reimbursements, those are all billed quarterly during the year in which they're incurred. And so we run actual reports of number of hours of community use and hours of that staff has worked to generate those invoices.
Okay. And so I'm trying to think of who I should. Let me ask Ms. McGuire, how does that system work for MCPS in terms of, from a budgetary standpoint, getting reimbursed for things that are sometimes 2 years after you've incurred the expense?
Thank you. So as my colleagues in CUF have been saying, at this point, this practice has been in place for a number of years. And so as a result, we anticipate that in our budget. And so we certainly, as part of our budget, plan for and account for the estimated amount that we know or that we expect, understanding that again the actuals were incurred 2 years prior. So at this point, I think that we feel that our budget reflects this practice. However, as folks were sharing, we certainly are very happy to have a conversation about adjusting that to a more timely system that would be beneficial for both agencies. We don't see an issue with that. But again, in terms of the current amount that's being requested in forbearance, we had assumed that we had projected forward that those dollars would be forthcoming in these years. That was our working assumption.
Excellent. So you answered my second question as well, which I appreciate. So MCPS's position was they built a budget around being reimbursed that money. And so therefore now being asked to do so would impact their overall projections that they would have had that money coming in, regardless of ARPA funds and other funds that are available to the school system. Okay. So from an MOU standpoint, where are we when it comes to how close are we to getting an MOU that reflects this new methodology in terms of more pay as you go instead of paying later? You know, I can't help but think of layaway, but that's just the first thing that comes to mind. Sorry, it's just
layaway.
Right? I mean, seriously, it just is. So where are we when it comes to a new MOU that reflects more of that pay as you go?
Well, a few weeks ago, we gave a working model to MCPS that we had cleaned up with working with the county attorney's office. Before, we had been going back and forth with old red lines, and it was getting confusing, and things were still changing as a result of experiences we were having with this pandemic. So I started again with a solid model, and we cleaned it up, and we've had at least one meeting so far to discuss the this newest model that we're working from. And we are going to plan to continue to meet fairly regularly. I think we hashed some things out in our first meeting that gave us some next steps, talking points. We hope that we could do this by the end of the fiscal year. I mean, that's my goal, as he can speak to if MCPS feels that's reasonable.
No, I think, and I would emphasize that certainly, we appreciate it. It's not ideal or good practice to have an expired MOU. However, again, our agencies continue to collaborate and have a working understanding. We meet very regularly. Ramona and I talk very regularly. And so I just want to emphasize that it's not lapsed as a result of miscommunications, but really just the number of sort of strange interferences that we've had in recent times. So we just, again, want to say that we are very grateful to have such a positive working relationship with CUP, and I feel confident that we can come to closure on the MOU at this stage. I do certainly appreciate sort of taking a fresh look, just because, again, obviously everything's in a different place than it was.
So what are the things that and as far as expectations go, I think that's incredibly important, that you give yourself some time, understanding that we find ourselves in such a tumultuous position anyway. And our next item actually ties into this directly, that I do think needs to weigh for consideration in terms of what the MOU will be. So if my colleagues don't have any particular questions about this item, I would like to move forward to number 4 that ties directly into MOU, I believe. So Vivian, did you want to go ahead and highlight that, and then I'll have a question about that one?
Absolutely. So right now, the executive is not proposing any fee increases in fiscal year 22. The fiscal plan for CUP does assume a fee increase in fiscal year 24. In addition, the department is planning to engage in a fee study as a precursor to changes to fees as well as policies, but that's been put on hold during the pandemic and the initial recovery. Basically, I think if CUP feels that if that is gathered too soon, it might not be accurate to show, what the status of, facility use and rates would be normally. So the committee may want to provide some input on issues that should be considered as they are planning for the fee study. And I think that that Councilmember Rice, you had some input that you wanted to provide.
Yeah, so when it comes to, look, I mean, we're going to have, and Councilmember Joando, I have you next, sir. When it comes to us understanding about how we're going to set this up, it is one that's going to have to incorporate all the new things that we have coming about with priorities around early care and education. There are a number of us that are working with Montgomery Moving Forward and others about continuing to push early care and education opportunities outside of Kerwin. There's so much that's going on that, again, when we're looking at fee structure, it certainly is one that will have to be cognizant of those overarching mission goals that we have for what it is that we want to see happen in our communities, understanding that the majority of these are going to take place in a lot of our public spaces, right? So again, while the current legislation itself says private providers, there are plenty of private providers that utilize public entities as its space for its provision of these types of services. And so I think it's all incorporated together. And so that's why I think that, again, not rushing the MOU at this point makes sense, because I would like to really see us start to incorporate some of the understanding around some of the overarching policy goals that we have that we're trying to achieve, especially when it comes to, and I don't have to tell Councilmember Navarro this, she lived it, in terms of the affordability of childcare space. So with that being said, let me turn to Councilmember Jawando, and then if Councilmember Navarro has any questions or comments.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good afternoon to everybody. So I think you were kind of getting at it in the last question, but it was just a follow-up to the MOU discussion. We know obviously we've been in an unprecedented situation this past year, and we know what we expect fund balance to be down. People weren't able to, because of health reasons, access facilities. As we look to, I guess this would be a kind of a joint CUP MCPS question. As we look to, hopefully brighter pastures, half the county vaccinated, the case rates thankfully have been trending down the last few days, and we hope that continues. We're not out of the woods, obviously. We still need people to be responsible. And you're going to have this study. I think we're going to have a need. I'm going to be very optimistic, for more. There's a lot of pent-up energy coming, I think. And so I guess my question would be to CUF and to MCPS, we're going to need, I think, in the next year or two, more space, more focus on equity, because I think there's a lot of people who know how to navigate, who are just going to jump in and navigate the system. And so I guess if maybe Ms. Bell Pearson, you can speak to it first of what you're doing, and again, this is a truncated budget process, but what you're doing to anticipate that, and we're not going to see any reduction of facilities, right? That's not on the horizon, but if you're thinking about that at all, and what you're doing to anticipate that once we, hopefully get further along in the process here.
Sure. Thank you for the opportunity to comment on that, because that was a point of discussion that we had with MCPS not too long ago. There was a question that came up as we were talking about our MOU in terms of what does, if any, modifications or reorganizations does CUF anticipate that might impact on MCPS or impact on the MOU? And my response to them is what I'll give to you. As we've been in this down period with no community use, have had the opportunity to look at some of our operations. And one of the things I looked at, which I was looking at before, but not as seriously because the immediacy wasn't there, is what other facilities can we put into play? Because clearly we're going to have a need. And if nothing else, even if it's just the same number we had pre-COVID, because of social distancing and restrictions and limitations on numbers, we would need to maybe put 2 groups as opposed to 1 group in 2 different locations. So I started looking at other government facilities, some of which are like closed schools that have been remanded to the county. They are under lease or license agreements with sometimes private entities. It could be private schools, it could be businesses, etc. But all of our leases have always required a provision that the leaseholder has to agree to make the facility available for community use whenever they're not doing programming. So weekends, evening hours. These are facilities we have not activated. Part of the reason, as I'm learning after we did the inventory over the past few months, is they're not necessarily up to standards, and risk management would have to be called in, and we'd have to do a full analysis. And because we don't have money, it's not like we could do an analysis and determine the gym floor needs to be redone, and then we wouldn't have the money to do it. So what we've tried to do is capitalize on the facilities we've identified that would be ready to go for certain types of activities. And we've put those into our resource. And we also are looking at fields. We're looking at other uses for, or non-traditional uses for places like basketball courts that could be outdoor meeting sites, assuming that we're able to bifurcate or either not have any play going on at the time. We've started looking at these types of things because any county facilities that we have that are government buildings, but they're not in use after hours, but they could be put into use. So those are the things we started looking at, and we've looked at them in the confines of the budget we have now, but we've also looked at them in terms of making a plan for when we do have funds again, so that we'd be able to put even more things in play. Because one thing this pandemic has taught us is we can't just rely on MCPS facilities, which of course we weren't intending to. That was just the real estate that was available at the time.
Right. No, I really appreciate that, and that warrants a whole separate discussion, which we won't get into here. But I'm glad that you raised it, and something I'd be eager to follow up on, Ms. Xiao, as far as that list. Ms. Pearson, if you could send, I'd love to know what the new things are coming in and how we can collaborate with you. And I think that's exactly the right. I'm glad to hear you're doing that work and thinking about it that way. So thank you. I don't know if Ms. McGuire has anything to add, but no.
Okay. No, I pardon me, I agree with Ms. Bell Pearson on those points. And I think that, certainly we are also, on the one hand, wanting to share facility space, on the other hand, sensitive to our own space needs, of course. Sure. And so wanting to be good neighbors, but taking up a lot of room ourselves. And particularly, again, with our holding centers, we're looking to start some projects that will take those to help us accomplish as well. So, but again, we'll stay coordinated on that and certainly share the goal.
Yeah, and I think we just have to you bring up a good point. Look, we're talking about a robust summer program, all the things we need to do, and there's a lot of needs all around. And I think just the conversation and the discussion just in the collaboration is going to just need to be tighter than it ever has been. So appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, no, and that's an incredibly important point, and one in which, look, there's been conversations about continuing equity hubs. And if we continue that then competes directly with some of the other things. What are we charging for those spaces versus others that are deemed as priority and deemed for the greater good of our community as a whole? There's so much that's there that this is really going to take us coming back for another session. Councilmember Navarro had already asked for it regarding some other things, but I think that, again, we're going to have to look at this from a holistic perspective of so many things affecting CUP and what's happening with the future of education, a la Kerwin, a la COVID recovery, a la so many other things, and really start to understand what our expectations are of CUP when it comes to financial, instead of maybe just facilitation. So I just put that out there as a teaser for where we may end up getting to, but let me turn to Councilmember Navarro.
Yeah, I wanted to add my voice to this request. As folks might or may not remember, in 2015, the bill that I introduced and that my colleagues supported really was framed around this same conversation, because no doubt that as the county has grown and as the needs continue to be more and more complex, these assets are very important and should be aligned with the county's policy goals. And so back then, I actually did ask for us to take a fresh look at this model. Should we continue to preserve the model as an enterprise fund? Does that make sense? Do we need to think of a hybrid model? Because in so many ways, this conversation illustrates the challenge that we have, which is that, we've got all these policy goals, as Councilmember Rice pointed out, early care and education. We have after school, very important goals. We have, mentoring. I mean, there's just a plethora of issues, and we don't have enough facilities, obviously, to provide these kinds of very important services. So at some point, we need to kind of take a step back and say, these are assets, they're embedded in the community, let's leverage them to amplify our goals, because it's usually so difficult to scale up. The only way we're going to be able to scale up is if we're able to have access to these facilities. But to think that somehow we're going to be able to do both, continue to have this as sort of an enterprise fund, and at the same time fulfill our policy goals. In my opinion, it's just not something that is going to work. There is this constant need to revisit our service delivery models. Many of them were established at a time when Montgomery County looked different, also had different needs. It's time to align those. And so, 6 years ago, this conversation was started. Folks were not ready to go there. We ended up with at least this fund to subsidize those providers that were going to be there for our communities that need it most, and giving them that opportunity to have that subsidy. But I think we seriously need to take a fresh look and see, is it possible to maintain it, the way it is, et cetera, and fulfill all these policy goals? If the answer is yes, okay, great. But if not, let's take some bold decisions. I think this pandemic really has come also to show us that the approaches that we quickly had to retool and put into place are approaches that we should continue, that we may be able to tweak a little bit, but we should continue that. And then again, this advent of hopefully more funding around early care and education from the federal government, state, et cetera. We're still, working on that. We need to accommodate that as well. So I want to add my support for a comprehensive look that actually includes this, notion of what we started talking about in 2015, which was, do we need to overhaul this model? And if so, what would it look like? We might need outside consultants to look at this, but again, if we don't take advantage of the moment, then we might just continue to come back and lament the fact that we're still dealing with these gaps, et cetera, and not enough people having access. So I appreciate this opportunity, and I really do look forward, Chairman Rice, to kind of really go back and dig deep into this issue once again.
Well, let me just say amen to that. So thank you very much to both of my colleagues. I think that, again, it is that time. With that, Ms. Yao, do we have any decision points besides the acceptance of the county executive's recommendations, I think, at this point?
Nope, that's it.
Okay. Well, again, I really want to thank you, Ms. Bell Pearson, Ms. Vitale, Ms. McGuire, for all coming together, Ms. Hyatt, Ms. Beck, I see you as well. Thank you so much for being a part of this discussion. We will revisit this. We are fine with what the county executive has put forth at this point, but certainly understand that we need to come back to this fall. So Ms. Yao will get another date scheduled so that we can have that conversation. All right. So we will move on to item number 2, which is our CIP on libraries. And we have our lead for libraries, Councilmember Juando. So I am going to turn it over to him. I really want to thank Ms. Chen, who is with us, who is our legislative analyst for our libraries. I know we're joined, well, no, I'll let Mr. Juando do the introduction. So Councilmember Juando, our lead for libraries, I turn it over to you, sir.
Thank you. Yeah, I think this will be quick, and great to see everybody. I see we're joined by our great, to finish your sentence, our great Director of Libraries, Anita Vassallo, and her wonderful team, Mr. Donaldson, Ms. Hawes, and Mr. Capini. I think are you from OMB? Or are you from libraries as well, sir? Libraries as well. Okay. All right. And then I see Ms. Lambert from OMB and Ms. Beck. And so this should be a relatively quick item, I think, based on the changes in the CIP. I'll just say as a point of commentary, I'm glad that we are keeping on board. I'm sure Mr. Rice will be happy too, that we're going to keep Clarksburg on pace up there for the library. And I know there's some minor adjustments here downward, but for the most part, I think we're in pretty good shape. So I'll turn it over first maybe to Ms. Vassallo if you wanted to say anything, and then to Ms. Chen to take us through the packet. So Director Vassallo.
So thank you very much, Councilmember Juando, and hello to Chair and Councilmember Rice and Councilmember Navarro. So the library's CIP is, as Councilmember Juando noted, not changed much from what we have put forward in previous years. We are focusing on getting our library refresh program moving forward again after a slight little pause. We have actually 4 libraries that are in the pipeline right now. We just have closed the Germantown Library for a short period for recarpeting and some other work. We are moving towards our refurbishment of the Maggie Nightingale Library in Poolesville. We have begun work. The planning and design of the Potomac Library is well underway, and we are beginning now with Damascus. So our very successful refresh model to bring our libraries up to 21st century standard is still moving forward very well. Soon we will be addressing some issues with our more recently built libraries. I know that all of you understand the immense amount of wear that our public libraries take during the course of a year. So even though it may seem to us that, for example, the library in Silver Spring was just opened, the library in Silver Spring has had many, many folks pass through, sit in the chairs, lean up against the walls, and all the rest. So that program is very, very important to us and has certainly been a benefit to library users and community members throughout the county. The Clarksburg Library is still on target to move forward with the initial PRO and design meetings in fiscal year 22, so that will be coming right up. Then we're finishing out the Wheaton Library, and then a little bit of a hiatus with noise, and I can talk a little bit more about that if anybody would like to ask me any questions.
Yeah, and then we'll let Ms. Chen go through the packet. I know that the fundraising there has continued to be an issue, but we can get into that. So I'll turn it over to Ms. Chen.
Thank you so much, Mr. Jawando. I'm Carolyn Chen, Legislative Analyst with the County Council. This is a new portfolio item for me. So I want to first thank Ms. Vasallo, Mr. Kopani, and Mr. Donaldson, and Ms. Lambert for meeting with me multiple times. We think we meet every 3 weeks to get me up to speed on everything libraries. So it's been very fun. So I think we can really move forward with the CIP review from the pocket. The first 2 bullets are actually put both together for Libraries and Public Arts Trust for this committee. But I think what is most important to highlight is the second bullet with the decrease in the 21st century library enhancements level of effort and noise library delay in project timeline. Either Ms. Vasallo or Ms. Lambert, I would like to give you guys the mic to explain in more detail than what was provided in this packet on the reasoning and the rationale for those changes.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll let Ms. Lambert go forward, and then I can fill in if need be.
Ms. Lambert, you're on mute.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. The noise library was delayed by 1 year to allow the foundation to complete its fundraising. So the total cost of the project is still the same as it was in the previously approved CIP. And basically what we did was we took some funding away from 22, moved some funding into fiscal 21 to complete the design work. So we used a contribution of $85,000 that was made to libraries, and we moved that into fiscal 21. So again, it's just a delay in the construction of the project by 1 year. The memorandum of understanding that the county has with the foundation requires the foundation to complete fundraising of $1.6 million before we can start with the construction of the project. So that's why the delay in 1 year to allow that fundraising to complete so that we can start the construction. So that's that one. And the 21st Century Library Enhancement Level of Effort Project, due to some fiscal constraints, we took $159,000 and we reduced the fiscal 22 funding. O&B, from O&B's perspective, we would like to understand and see how well the Open Plus pilot that library wants to implement at Maggie Nightingale, we want to see how that works out before we do more of a rollout of Open Plus in fiscal 22. So that $159,000 is more of a wait and see on OMB's part, and we want to see how that pilot works before we would roll out to other libraries. And my understanding of the Open Plus is that would allow access to a library after library hours, just the public areas of the library. And so that pilot is being implemented at Maggie Nightingale. And once we see how that works, then we'll see if we can fund it in other branches.
And Director Vassallo, could you chime in on that? That was the one thing that did give me pause in this was I know a lot of our residents were using, per our great work, these pulling up the libraries and using the Wi-Fi outside, the buildings. And so just talk a little bit about what the reduction means and what it would have, what you would have done if it wasn't reduced, and would have. I know you're going to go forward with Maggie Nightingale, but and then maybe the program. Can you just talk about that a little bit?
Sure. Actually, I'm going to have Assistant Director James Donaldson answer these questions. This is in his portfolio, and he has that responsibility. So I'll turn that over to him.
Great.
Thank you. And so the Open Plus product, as Ms. Lambert said, we're implementing as a pilot out in Poolsville at the Maggie Nightingale Library. That's a product that's seen a lot of success in Gwinnett County Public Libraries, which is a relatively similar jurisdiction in Georgia. That's a majority minority community. And they've had tremendous upticks in library usage through implementing this product. They have it at about 4 locations now, and it's been really successful for them. And so constraining this budget would do as described and cause us to implement further down the road any additional Open Plus implementations. A major advantage of Open Plus, and one of the reasons we chose Maggie Nightingale, for example, is you can vastly expand the operating hours at very minimal cost because it has kind of like an anytime fitness type model, right? And so an individual with a valid account in good standing could access the library in additional hours that we might specify.
Yeah.
And so it would allow us to allow access to the collection, the public computers, to much more hours to much more people throughout the community at a very minimal cost. Do you have a question, Mr. Jawanda?
Yeah, and if so, it's $159,000. Between you and Ms. Lambert, however, if we were to put this on the reconciliation list, for example, to look at what could you do with it next year besides Nightingale? What were the plans before?
And so we could add additional branches to that project, probably about 3 of them. And we would want to finalize which locations would have the greatest impact in so doing. Another possible project would be as well, Councilmember Jawando, as you mentioned, extending the Wi-Fi at additional locations. That's also something we could look at if it's of interest, because we did only do 10 of our 21 public facilities so far in collaboration with DTS.
Well, I'm as the lead here. I think, Mr. Chairman, if there's an interest, I think it would be, this is an amount of money, but you could have a lot of bang for your buck between the Wi-Fi and the Open Plus at a time when everyone wants our libraries to be open now, and we're working on it. I know they're working very hard to get there. There's a plan in place that will be announced shortly. But I think this is something that could extend the meet the increased demand that we're going to see this summer. And so I would, if there's willingness from my colleagues, would like to put that back in that section of the CIP, that $159,000.
Excellent. So, Councilmember Jawando, I think that's a great idea. I think that, again, we know how much our libraries are utilized. And just the other day, I don't remember whether it was on a generic council meeting or one in which I was just talking about how I was driving down Century Boulevard in Germantown and saw children sitting outside of the library on Wi-Fi with their laptops or other tablet devices. I mean, it even in its closure, libraries have remained a hub in our communities of great importance. And being able to utilize services outside of normal working hours has always been something that's been at the forefront. I remember when I used to represent Albany, and Councilmember Navarro knows this story well. When I was walking through the neighborhoods running back in 2010 for election, one of the biggest concerns that I heard from individuals in Albany was about the reduction of hours and the closure of Albany Library. And that was number one. Outside of any other fiscal stuff, outside of schools, outside of roads, outside of snow removal, all the stuff that gets people ginned up, it was libraries that led. And so from that perspective, it's one of the reasons why I've always had a great respect for our libraries and their importance in our community. And so, would certainly support that. Councilmember Navarro?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think that there's no doubt that anything we can do to enhance libraries, it's going to be super important. It's going to play a very important role. So, I mean, I definitely would support that. Of course, as every year, we know that we will see how things shape up during the reconciliation, but I do believe that the pent-up demand is definitely there. And folks are going to still, need to access that, especially Wi-Fi and things like that. So I would, definitely support placing it on the rec list, and then hopefully we can, we'll be able to get it off there.
Thank you. Thank you to my colleagues. And I know in the Fed Committee, we're doing this tiered thing, which is probably going to come back and bite us and be confusing. So I don't know. I'm sure other committees are doing it. But I just think we should say we're putting this on the list. Yeah, okay, and not.
That's it. So much cleaner.
Yeah, great.
Putting it on the rack list.
All right. Well, we'll go. And would that give you the flexibility to do either or, Mr. Donaldson, Ms. Vassallo, plus or?
Potentially a combination, yes. And so we could either do either or a combination thereof, certainly. Okay.
Great, great. Well, I leave you to decide that based on the equity analysis and all that, but I'm really happy to hear that, and hopefully we can get it on. So thank you. Ms. Chen, what's next?
Yeah, that was it for CIP libraries.
All right.
If we want to, I think you need a motion maybe? Or...
Oh, yes. Yeah. Without objection? There we go. All right. I don't know if we need a motion or not, but I think you see, we all want to do it. 3-0.
There you go. It's just without objection and consent.
Yeah. Okay, great. All right, well, I'll turn it back over to you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Ms. Vassallo, and to the library team and to OMB.
So we also have, I think, Councilmember Joando, some of the, that addresses the consent items that are also within libraries, right? So we have all of that without objection.
Correct.
Okay, excellent. All right. So Ms. Chen, we will go to you for our next item, which is our Public Arts Trust. I want to welcome Ms. Jenkins, our able leader of our Arts and Humanities Council. And let me just say, Ms. Jenkins, on the outset, I was going to save this comment for later, but I think I'll dispense of it here. When I picked up my daughter, I had the opportunity. We decided we had a little bit of time because we had a late flight. So we drove into Denver. And we went to this great restaurant that overlooks the ballpark there for the Colorado Rockies. And as we were leaving, I decided to just try and take in a little bit of Denver. I wanted to show my wife, who hadn't been to downtown Denver, and show her what was there that I had seen last time in a couple of stores and shops and the eclecticness. And one of the things we continued to comment on was about the public art that was there in Denver. On the sides of buildings and the front of buildings in various places. And it was very clear that they had gone above and beyond to make sure that their public art was prominent and that it was well kept. It was one in which it reminded me of our county executive, and I'll tell you why. There was one particular piece of artwork that was very ingenious that used shipping crates, but not the typical shipping crates we're used to, the ones that are on dock ships. And those containers, those shipping containers, because I know that the county executive had talked about creative uses of those shipping containers. And so it immediately came to mind about our county executive when I saw this other creative use of those shipping containers and turning it into art. And it was a beautiful piece of art. It was actually quite impressive. but it was one in which it reminded me about how much of an addition public art truly means to our community. And, you know, we oftentimes go to the George Floyd incidents and things like that and look to memorials and things that certainly are also there and speak volumes when it comes to a place of healing, a place of certainly resurgence in terms of how our community can come back stronger. But it also is just an opportunity for things to just look so much better, so much neater, so much cooler, and for folks to really feel that, right? It creates a different kind of energy. It invokes a spirit. It invokes a feeling in folks. And so that's what our public art does. And so I just wanted to highlight for you that I felt that and saw that. My family saw and felt that as we drove through downtown Denver. And so certainly something in which what you've been talking about for a very long time in terms of making sure that we care for the existing public art that we have, but also looking at ways in which we can continue to increase those pieces of public art and what it means for our community are just absolutely tremendous. And so I just wanted to thank you again for your leadership and the work of all of our arts folks throughout this county who continue to contribute to that each and every day. So with that, let me turn to you, Ms. Jenkins, for any opening remarks, and then I'll turn to Ms. Chen to walk us through some of the salient decision points that we have.
I'm absolutely speechless. I'm not muted. I just don't even know why I'm here because Councilmember.
I just want to say I'm shocked. I'm sorry.
You go right ahead, Carolyn. Fine. I just want you to know, you know, there is really nothing better in one's career when there is an issue that one is passionate about, and all three of you, it's great to see you all, council members, Councilman Giwando, Navarro, Rice. I feel like I haven't seen you in such a long time. So it's just, I just want to start by saying how wonderful it is to see you. I cannot wait to be in your physical presence, which I hope won't be too much longer. But I think for all of us professionals in the work we do, it's a song in your heart when someone else is able to talk about your passion, the passion that you carry, whether it's education, equity, or public art. And so for me, hearing the things that you say about the work that we have collectively done together is really, really, I'm practically verklempt because it is the work that we are trying to do together. And, you know, as I often say, this public-private partnership we have as a non-departmental agency is advancing our community's collective vision, and that we are members of the community advancing this collective vision together. I didn't need to be there with you in Denver. You got it. And, you know, Councilmember Navarro, didn't need to be with you in Wheaton as you started thinking about it. You know, you got it. And Councilmember Giwando, as we were talking about race equity and grant making and art overall, arts and humanity, you get it. So I'm feeling this some kind of way right this moment because it is that as a team, the four of us, and then when I add myself to the county executive and the county council, you know, the 10 of you plus any other of the partner agencies that you have, this is the sweet spot that's gonna get us to the equity, to the community involvement, to the impact that you've all spoken today of as I heard you speak. So I'm grateful. Thank you. To that end, I'll just say that so you see what it takes. It takes intention. And we have been much more intentional in the last several years about our public art investments, both those that we've made already and those that we hope to make in the future. And for those of us who have had this vast privilege of travel, you understand that people gather around the good stuff and they may come from different cultures. They may come from different backgrounds. They may be different ages, But public art allows people to gather around the good stuff and find this kind of common baseline that allows you to talk about and become more involved in the community. So I'll just say, last but not least, thank you for your past investments in the Public Art Trust. It really is going to take our intention, and as we become more involved, Gwen Wright and I just had a fabulous conversation last week about the Public Art Trust, about Thrive 2050, about the comments that we made that were inserted in Thrive 2050, and about this accompanying cultural plan that we have a great intention to complete in the next 18 months or so to 2 years, with, of course, your and community involvement. All of this planning, all of this look-see, whether or not it's an enterprise model, as you just mentioned, Councilmember Navarro, or whether it's our investment in public art, it's just really about the intentionality. And in the 13 years that I have been on the council, I see this county council as some of the most focused and intentional conversations that I've seen over the years. And so I just want to thank you for that and say that whatever it is that you're willing to do to advance our investment in the community that come out as, whether it's, our Arts and Humanities Council budget or public, that intentionality is going to serve us all well and leave a legacy that speaks of community involvement that I think we'll all be pretty proud of. So thanks for your past investments and thanks for continuing to support.
Well, here. Let me turn to Ms. Chen to walk us through. I think it'll be a quick discussion, but Ms. Chen.
Yes, I'm actually looking at page 2 of the memo as agenda item 3. Just wanted to highlight the live links that are in the first paragraph. These links will take you to the Arts and Humanities website on showing the whole strategy that's been developed over many years on the public art guidelines and public art roadmap. These are writing documents that I know will be integrated with a new cultural plan and also with Thrive Montgomery design and art goals. I want to highlight that for you. Today we are actually continuing our discussion from last budget of increasing the Public Arts Trust to be funded at a $408,000 over the 6-year plan. What happened in fiscal year 21 was a half reduction of the 218 recommended add from our committee, but this right now is an increase back to that 408,000. So the net cost is 109. So making the Public Arts Trust whole from our last discussion last year.
Excellent. So that's the recommendation from staff. Is there any objection or discussion about continuing along the pathway of ensuring that we have that investment continuously via the arts from my committee members? Hearing none, there's no objection. All right.
May I just say one other thing? Two other things that I would just want to add. I'm really, really excited and grateful about the increase that we got for FY21 because I was, as you know, appointed to the Commission on Remembrance and Reconciliation. And with some of the funds from FY21, don't tell anybody, but I hope to be working with that commission in augmenting the work that will be done on something we're calling the event in late September that will memorialize the 3 lynchings, and that the fund to do this public art work will come out of the FY21 budget. So I wanted to thank you for that, and to say also that we because of the FY21 budget and the support we got, we're also going to be doing a public initiative to help people remember that even though we're moving through the pandemic, we still need to keep our masks on. And as we think about the reopening and as we think about other things we'll be doing, we're going to be helping our organizations market themselves using some of this funds so that they understand that we have to signal very strongly to the public that it's safe to come back to our venues and that we know what to do to keep them safe. So that's how we'll be using some of the funds for temporary public art in this fiscal year.
Yeah, thank you for that, Ms. Jenkins. And it's always great to see that our artists continue to be at the forefront of all of the issues that are current and before us, in addition to doing all other kinds of things. But I just remember about election year and the great work that folks had in encouraging people to vote and get out the vote initiatives and things like that. So continuing to see that great work in the community is just tremendous. It's an overall great support to not only everything that we talked about at the beginning, but also about current policy initiatives and goals that we have as well. So again, thank you to my colleagues. We will move on to our next one. So thank you, Ms. Jenkins. We'll move on to our next item, which is our CIP on cost sharing with Montgomery County government. And so I will turn it over to Ms. Chen to walk us through the packet. I want to welcome, well, Ms. Arieti is still with us, but Raphael Murphy from OMB as well, and turn it over to Ms. Chen to walk us through.
Hello, everybody. Nice to see Mr. Murphy, Ms. Ariete, and Ms. From OMB, been my partners on the cost sharing CIP for quite a bit now. There's a couple of updates and then discussion items. So I'll just walk through. I'll start from the cost sharing for non-capital arts grants. Okay. So in the first page, we can see here that for cost sharing in relation to a December 16th memo from OMB Director Jennifer Bryant, there were no specific recommendations for capital grants for non-art organizations in this fiscal year. So that's why it says as a summary here, no CIP amendments were made to the 21-26 expenditure schedule. However, our state delegates did more work than we could ever imagine and funded in actually 16 non-art projects and 1 art project totaling $4.84 million. So thank you to Mr. Murphy who helped with the reconciliation of this year's state bond bills. But I can't believe I'm saying this, but all those projects either fund the requested amount in full and also allow, and also means that all 22 matching for the county was also taken on by the state. So if there was any, yes, requests that came half and half ended up being double over or 100% over at the state. So I just want to give a very huge shout out to our state delegation and the Office of Intergovernmental Relations because this was a huge undertaking to get close to $4.9 million for 17 projects that span all areas of the county. So the difference, the only thing missing here is in the third bullet, is that the reconciliation of previously approved state bond bills from other years was not taken into consideration for 22, meaning there were organizations that received bond bills from the state in the past and then were expecting a scheduled match by the county in order to access those state funds. And so we'll get to that actually in detail on the second page. In terms of arts and humanities capital grants, which is still in this cost sharing CIP, we also did not see any additional cost sharing capital grants for arts organizations. Instead, because this committee had secured 3 years of funding for the remaining arts capital grants that had come through last year, we are on schedule to meet all of the arts capital projects funding needs through 23. And I just wanted to highlight, this was actually for Susan, Ms. Jenkins, is I wanted to show that there was one art project that was funded by the state, which is Silver Spring Art Space. In addition, the county executive increased the 23 to 26 expenditure schedule for cost sharing back to the original amount of $1 million a year that has been earmarked for capital grants for arts organizations. And that's where that increase you're seeing in 23. 23 is 750,000, and then each year you'll see we're back to the $1 million earmark fund. I'll stop there. Any questions on the art grant so that we can allow Ms. Jenkins to go, allow Ms. Arute to go, and we can move on to non-art capital grant.
I see no questions, so without objection.
Thank you.
Getting nods, so yep, without objection. All right. Sorry. So thank you, Ms. Chen. So our next one is the NDA for the Montgomery Coalition for...
we're not. Sorry.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, Ms.
Oh, that's
Stevens.
right. That's right. We have the next part. The NDA.
Right.
Sorry. Yep. Go ahead.
So I wanted to bring up this issue, and Mr. Murphy has helped me with this as well. On page 2, the third section, the reconciliation of the previous bond bill. So we did a whole review actually of 21, 20, 19, 18, all the bond bills and all the projects, and determined whether or not the match has been made and met by the organization's own fundraising, outside sources, or a county match. And so state delegation did such a great job that there were only 2 organizations that had previous bond bills that were issued that, because of this new year of not issuing any matches, did not meet what they expected to their county match to be to access their state funds. So the 2 are Up County Nonprofit Hub as submitted by Family Services Inc. and the Intergenerational Center and Regional Headquarters as submitted by Easter Seals. We were able to find the actual bills to confirm their bond bill award in 2018 and 2020, and that's where we have in the attachments in the Circle 810 and Circle 1112, and Up County Nonprofit Hub from last year's CIP review. I included their project description as well, which was great. It's always good to be organized so that we could have it. So that actually shows that the match for their full $2 million project, the county was at 100 out of the 100,000 scheduled or expected schedule match in fiscal year 21. So 400,000 remain in the county match for the Up County Nonprofit Hub, and 100,000 remains in the county match for the Intergenerational Center and Regional Headquarters. I bring this up as a discussion item because if it's not discussed today, it will be discussed again next year. Just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Excellent. So, colleagues, we have an opportunity to put this on the reconciliation list to make these whole. Certainly want to thank our state delegation for all of their great work in continuing to secure these state funds, and we certainly don't want to renege on our support when it comes to local jurisdictions ponying up their piece, understanding that the state funds are limited, that our delegates and senators put themselves on the line trying to negotiate to get this money for these various projects, and we certainly want to meet them in terms of doing our local support. So not sure if my colleagues have any concerns or questions or just want to put them on the reconciliation list. And I see nodding. Okay, all right, so yep, without objection. And so, Ms. Chen, that takes us through our part there. So we will head on to our next one. So thank you very much for that. we'll head on to our last one that's outside of the operating budget consent item. So our last one is the NDA regarding Montgomery Coalition for Adult English Literacy. I know that we're joined by Kathy Stevens. Hello, Kathy. It's good to see you always, the Executive Director of McHale. And we also have Deborah Lambert still with us from our Office of Management and Budget. Let me just open by saying this, and I know that this will probably spawn some comments and some comments as well. But look, we see that with our whole discussion about what's happening regarding unaccompanied minors, as well as a continued influx at our borders, that we are going to continue to see immigration increase here in the United States. We know that we actually have some of the better policies when it comes to supporting immigrant children and their families, and so folks will likely locate here where they can receive the best support. And then we have a great organization like McHale who helps with that support in supporting those who have English as a second language, who are trying to ensure every kind of way they can to become a part of our community, not only in presence, but also in speaking the language, getting incorporated with a job, making sure that their family is connected, all of the things that we all hold near and dear, but quite honestly, have just by being born here. And so it is one of those where I think that for us, it really is imperative for us to continue to support a great organization like McHale that does tremendous work. We know how important this work is. We've seen it when it came to this recent COVID pandemic, in which parents had to become, oftentimes, their substitute backup mentors for their students. And a lot of our parents who did not have command of the English language and their children ended up struggling as a result. And we know that. We see it, and it's the reason why we stood up the equity hubs with the Black and Brown Coalition. And so from that perspective, to me, and I know to my colleagues who care deeply about this is a no-brainer. This really is one in which we see the increased need that already is happening, as well as will continue over the coming year at least. And so from that perspective, really want to say that, look, I understand where the county executive is coming from. I appreciate the increase of the $100,000. I know that even more could be utilized. And so certainly one that we need to pay close attention to as we get later in the year to understand a little bit more about the continued need that's out there and what we need to do to address the situation. So with that, I don't see anything from my colleagues just yet in case up. So let me turn to you, Ms. Chen. I'm sorry, Councilmember Navarro. Sorry about that.
Yes, thank you, and it's good to see you, Kathy. There is precedent for the council adding exactly $100,000 in the past because of this recognition of the scope of the need in relationship to the capacity of the organization. I think that this is definitely something that continues to be of importance. I was very excited to read some of the reasons why this additional funding was being sought, and would just love to hear from you, Kathy, if you can share with us just what you've seen, what you have encountered, and how you plan to pivot. I saw that you're doing some work with the Latino, I believe, Family Child Care Association, or just, Latino Child Care Association in general. We have a very active Latino Family Child Care Association here in Montgomery County. Started way back in the day when I had Centro Familia, and they have continued to do amazing work. And just would love to hear how you're working with them, and how do you see things moving forward? And then, of course, hopefully we can come back in the fall to then hear from you where do you see things headed, because I feel like the pandemic has also come to either, makes us focus on particular things, but also perhaps has taught us that we need to do something a little bit different. Can you tell us a little bit about just, with this $100,000, where do you see that being used, and how do you see yourself leveraging that to help us through this post-COVID-19 sort of recovery?
Sure, thank you, and thank you to the whole committee for having me here today. I know you all have been very busy and you have a lot on your plate, so we do appreciate it. I think in terms of the word pivot, we are still pivoting because we're trying new things, even as we learn, as the pandemic is continuing, yet as things are changing with access, opening up, vaccinations, that kind of thing. So, Councilmember Navarro, I appreciate your use of that word, because it really we've been lucky as an organization, or maybe we've also been very intentional about using this time to really take a look at how and I will say pandemics, because we are continuing to address the pandemic of racism and lack of equity for our immigrant neighbors as well, along with obviously the COVID-19 pandemic. So it allowed us to really finalize our equity plan that we had put together after participating in the Racial Equity Action Leadership Training Program. And it really, my staff and I can't say we had more time because we've been very busy over the last year, but we had a new lens and we were able to reimagine some things based on seeing what was happening in the world around us, the use of technology, and some real opportunities that have been created by looking at things equity-wise. So really that has allowed us to kind of braid together and knit together some pieces of how we, as the hub of the coalition, really act as the coordinating body and are able to leverage additional funding, leverage different ideas to really continue to build the system. So I'll just mention a few of our kind of highest priorities that I think address all of this. You already mentioned the work that we're doing with childcare providers. Obviously, we know the need for childcare, where that system has not worked to the fullest over the past year, given the situation that working parents, working families find themselves in. And we knew there was a need for English. We were surprised by how much response we got with our first kind of work on this one pilot with the Child Care Association. And so we're starting one class as a pilot. We know we want to build on that and continue to make it a pipeline as we would with our other programs as well. Look at the Montgomery College work that they're doing. Once a child care worker has some kind of basic skills with one of our classes, where do they go from there? What are the other licensing opportunities? It's part of the building process. We've also reimagined some of our service delivery. As you all know, East County has been a challenge for nonprofits delivering services over I will be in the McHale position 9 years. Certainly it's been something we've been working on. Our FY20 data showed 7 classes in East County as compared to 33 classes in the Up County area. Obviously, that just doesn't begin to meet the need there. So building on some work that's been done nationally that we've looked at, where we've created what we call community learning groups, meant to be hyper-local, can work in an online format or within an apartment building or at an area store or you name it, something that's an organized group, but not organized through a 501c3 or through somewhere else. We're working with a church, that kind of thing. And they're really, these groups are going to accomplish a couple things for us. We always hear from our established programs that we need more instructors. We need more trained instructors. So we're going to be able to bring in kind of new instructors, train them through we have a new online learning management system, train them, and also with our equity lens on, train people from the communities in which people need English services, and so that we're investing in instructors that are not white, middle-aged folks from other part of the county, but invest in peer-to-peer instruction in those communities. Paid part-time jobs, of course, this is not going to be full employment, but something that we hope will really bolster and support the community in several ways. So pipeline for instructors, pipeline for adult learner students to not only get their feet wet with a community learning group, but then, as I just said, with the child care workers, move on to other classes, other programs, whether that's other English classes, workforce development. We'll work with Anthony Featherstone and WorkSource Montgomery, of course, on those kinds of items. He and I have already started having some conversations as he gets his, feet under him and new in his position. So community learning groups, and then looking at a variety of things to bring our learner voice more directly into the work that we do, so that we're just being responsible to what an English learner, language learner needs. An advocacy group that will grow out of that and help us with planning and other designs for delivering classes that we might not yet have in our minds because of where we sit and what our experience has been. So looking at that and following some models that have been started around the county with other organizations as well. I think we will also be, we will also be looking at our own internal systems around equity, our grant making. As you all know, I think we're very proud of our grant making over the last, I guess it's been 10, 12 years now. At the same time, we have to ask the questions. We continue to bolster really strong, well-established programs, but our data still shows us that there are language groups and ethnic groups that we're not serving as well as some of the others. So does our grant-making process need a little tweaking? Probably, and we certainly have learned that from some of the major foundations in the area, how they went about kind of unpacking their grant language. Unpacking, listen, we need to translate some of our grant materials that have not yet been translated. That's been a miss on our part. We're ready to correct that now. Making our grant panel more accessible to people in the communities that would be served by ESOL. So childcare, stipends, things like that, that just make it available for them to participate in something like that. And then the whole technology question, we've been able to pivot. We do a lot of training online now. All of our instructors are working Zoom. They know all the best things to do with Zoom, breakout rooms, involvement from learners. Many of our learners are still on a phone for class, which creates two issues. One, you just can't maximize the learning environment that way. We have a community learning group that just started a pilot. The husband and wife are on the same phone. That's great that they're both participating, but it's not going to maximize the learning. Can we get them a Chromebook, something like that? Of course, we want to make that available. And some of the students are dropping out at the end of the month because they've maxed out on their minutes on their phone, right? So we just can't have that kind of stuff happening. And then looking at Wi-Fi accessibility, again, there's still a number of learner families that we know do not have consistent, affordable Wi-Fi, so we're looking at making that available. I know Councilmember Rice, we've talked about the fact that there's some national changes coming, legislation on that. I think there'll be some county changes. Wi-Fi access is a necessary utility right now, just as we provide electricity and water and gas to our community. That's something too. So I should also, I don't mean to take up too much time. There's so much we're doing. I've hit the highlights. We know we're going to be working with all of our programs over the summer, figuring out if space is available again in schools, for instance, through CUF. I was just listening. How can they begin to have hybrid programs? Do they meet a couple times in person at the school, and then when we might need to, or we need more people in one space, go to an online format? And so, are there outside spaces that we can use either through CUP or others? So we're going to be working through all that. As you all know, there's no roadmap yet for this transition time. So, and then I just do want to do a public thank you. You all know that we rely on our data. We communicate our data. We're very proud of that. In the fall, I'll go, this was too short a presentation to go through all of that, but we do have our FY20 data up on our story map, our interactive involvement. And we had to go through a change this past year. County Stat was no longer able to do that for us. So I scurried around, and thanks to the Park and Planning Department and Casey Anderson and his staff, they were able to do all that magic for us. That involves technology and staff time that we just don't have. So we're probably leveraging another at least $70,000 to $90,000 worth of time and I guess you call it hardware and software. See, that is above my pay level on that stuff, but we are leveraging them. We're greatly appreciative of that, and they really help us with that. So with that, I think I've hit some of our priorities and highlights. I'm sorry if I took too much time, Carolyn.
No, I think that was great. that was a pretty thorough explanation of where you're headed. Again, I feel like, with this budget, every item, it does require, especially the non-consent ones like this one, it does require for us to come back to do a full sort of assessment of where we're headed. I will share a couple of things, obviously, been like a broken record forever about the need for us to truly, I think, enhance this work. Not too long ago, when there was that one incident that kind of went viral, that it would happen to me here on the county council, I had an opportunity to talk a lot about who we are in Montgomery County, because it's not just about the recently arrived immigrants. It's the fact that 43% of our population does speak a language other than English. Doesn't mean everybody needs ESOL, but we do know that there are degrees of ESOL, of English proficiency, that is correlated with success in terms of being able to address issues of economic sufficiency. And so when I look at the budget for McKell, and when I look at the various places where we have ESOL classes for adults, there's no doubt that it doesn't correspond to who we are. Once again, the conversation around racial equity and social justice, it's precisely that. It's about equity, but it's also the mere, just the fact that we need to align resources with our population. Like, that is why we're here. It doesn't make a lot of sense. And so, Ms. Chen, as we prepare for a fall, conversation, I would like to have in that conversation, as you were saying, Worksession Montgomery. I think we need to have the college, and then think in a very bold fashion, just like former Councilmember Don Pettis did when, this whole conversation about McKell came about. Let's now think about this notion of economic development and how ESOL for adults really is part of that bucket of workforce development, which was part of this economic development platform that the council adopted in 2019. I think it's time for us to think about it from that frame, because it seems to me that we are perpetuating this notion that, McKell is wonderful, McKell is great, you have all these volunteers and you're doing amazing work, but we haven't necessarily, in my opinion, seriously put forth a bold statement to then have a bold approach to where we want to take things. I don't think that's acceptable anymore. And it just, it's just all over. Your data point about the East County is really telling. Because I know Jay Rubande is doing yeoman's, job over there.
Absolutely.
If we were to if we came together and made a bold, investment, leveraging organizations like, Montgomery College, and we could definitely raise that particular data point in the East County. So there are these areas where I believe we've got to meet that. We have to meet the moment. And I think we are fooling ourselves to talk about economic recovery and, self-sufficiency and all these things if we don't make adult ESOL a part of this. It's just absolutely not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. And so I'm, excited and ready to do that. I don't know. I mean, we should also look at some of the ARPA funding. What does that look like in terms of, recovery? Do we have an opportunity there? But so perhaps, Mr. Chairman, I don't know, even if, the summer would be a good time to at least begin that conversation. But this can change lives significantly. There are some areas here where I believe can be life-changing. I know it, obviously, because, my ability to be bilingual has served me quite well, so I know it firsthand. And I know the difference it makes on the lives of so many adults in our county. When you see folks taking 2-3 buses just to get to that class after working all day, a lot of times it just bothers me so much when I hear mostly people on the far right criticize immigrants as not having the desire to move ahead. And, all you have to do is spend a few hours just, talking to folks and seeing the effort that is being put in order to to keep going and to have this understanding of the importance of achieving something like the American dream. But English proficiency is part of that absolute ability, and path. So anyhow, I think we have something here that we can definitely, work towards. And I would love, for us to kind of connect all those dots and see what we can do to leverage all this. The pieces are there in place. And I always say, poor Jay Rue, and I'm always like putting more work on his plate. But I'm like, I know that he's, he can leverage all kinds of stuff and make all kinds of things happen if the resources were there.
Right, absolutely. And we'd be happy to be part of that ongoing work and that conversation with the things that we're starting and the things that we hope to build and continue.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you for all your work.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Councilmember Navarro. And it really highlights something that I think, in looking through the packet, Carolyn, I think that what we'll need to do is likely come back to this in the context of COVID recovery. I do like the ideology of comparing this to, workforce development and what needs to happen post-COVID with us trying to get folks back into jobs. We know that many in our service industry have been deeply impacted, which is primarily people of color. Everything from our arts, when it came to our theaters and other venues that were closed, to our restaurants that were closed, and who still are deeply impacted by some of the restrictions that we have. They've all impacted our communities of color. And obviously, every single thing that we do impacts our community of color because that's the majority of Montgomery County. So, I mean, it's like everything that you reference is going to impact our communities of color, but one in which I think that when it comes to recovery and this particular aspect in terms of English language acquisition and preparing people for the jobs that are the post-COVID recovery, right? We need to be preparing for that as well, not just for the same jobs they had before, but for building back better, getting them into other jobs and other job opportunities. And so I couldn't agree more. So I think that we will need to come back to this, maybe in the context, it'll be different from our previous conversation, but one that deals primarily with COVID recovery. So sometime around the summer, early summer, maybe before we go on recess, Councilmember Navarro, would probably be a good idea where we can address that and some other workforce development issues. Maybe it would be a joint meeting with Fed so that we can talk about all of the different things that we'll need to do in preparing many of our people who are continue to be unemployed or underemployed and trying to get them the resources necessary to get them back on track. So I think that's the best bet. And so that then ties into the recommendations. And so while I appreciate the recommendations, Carolyn, I think that we may pause and try and draw down on some of those ARPA funds to be the ones that will help be the catalyst in those next steps in helping to continue to promote the services that McHale is able to offer. So I just put that out there for consideration. I'll certainly turn to my colleagues if they have any other thoughts or suggestions, but I think that may be the way for us to go. Councilmember Jawanda.
Yeah, I don't know if we need a motion or not, but I definitely agree for all the reasons that were so eloquently stated by both of my colleagues that this is necessary. We can't take any steps back in this area. If we need to be taking multiple times steps forward. And so I think, definitely would want to agree and move that we would restore the 100,000, put it on the list. And then I do like the idea of the joint Fed E&C committee. I'll be there no matter what, because those are my committees. But to have that larger discussion and have you, Ms. Stevens, be a part of that, because that's a critical, that upscaling, that retooling, this is a critical component. And, so just appreciate, can't say much more than my colleague said, but just agree that, and if we need to formally move it, I'm happy to do that.
Excellent. So without objection, we'll go ahead and do that. And then, like I said, we'll definitely come back to this summer and look at ways in which we may be able to continue to promote additional resources to this topic. There's no question that it needs to be done. And you heard that from my colleagues. And I know that everyone else on the council I'm sure will feel the same way as well. This has been a priority, things that we've talked about for a very long time when it comes to our commitment to many of our folks in the community who may not master the English language, but certainly master, as Councilmember Navarro said, the fervor and want and desire to further their success in our community. And that's the thing. No one comes here to be a failure. No one comes here to not achieve. The reason why they seek out this community is because there is opportunity pathways that are there for them to be successful. That's why they come here. They don't come here for a system that doesn't support or something that allows folks to languish. No, we see it in our immigrant community stronger than I think anywhere else, in which folks are so focused on that success, that drive in terms of doing better for themselves, for their families, and for their community. And that is truly something special. That's what makes Montgomery County special. So I really appreciate my colleagues' comments on this, for everybody's work. And Kathy, to you and your organization, please give your thanks to everyone there for their continued work and dedication as we continue to make sure that we provide all kinds of opportunities for our constituents here in Montgomery County.
I certainly will, and thank you all for your continued support. We appreciate it.
All right, so Ms. Chen, go ahead. Yes.
Just a point of clarification then for this committee recommendation at this point is to approve the McHale NDA as submitted by the county executive, and then revisit with the Fed committee with additional entities, EDP, Worksession Montgomery College, public libraries, and discuss recovery funds.
Correct, because it's a proposed $100,000, but ends up being a net $75,000 increase if I read correctly, because there's a $25,000 other kind of thing that eats into the county executive's proposed $100,000 increase. Is that correct?
So, actually, it's specific to the re-granting. So the question was, right. Yeah. So it's actually a net $75,000 that's being recommended by the executive that would go to the operating programs of McHale, but the 25 would go to the grant. It's already shifted to the grant.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Right, we did that last year. If I may, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Please, no, please.
You know, typically we're so appreciative of the council just saying here, and our board and our grants panel, you know, really massages it to meet all of our strategic priorities and things like that. And last year, what we did, knowing that we were going to be facing a tight budget, and we had done some work preceding March of last year to really encourage 3 new programs to come forward. We felt like we had a responsibility to fund them. They were ready to go. We had worked with them. And so we just moved some money from our operating budget over there. So Ms. Chen very nicely put together a variety of scenarios, and we would be looking at any of those scenarios, maybe not exactly as she put forth. There's some variety there that we could look at, but knowing that we need to maintain our grants budget, we might be looking at some increases there, or some money to, programs are really, they're kind of developing on the fly right now, not knowing exactly when we're going to be fully back in person, et cetera, et cetera. So maintaining some for some things that might be off cycle, so to speak, to support some things that they want to do. But while also really there's some things infrastructure wise for our coordinating role, as I laid out in all the priorities that Councilmember Navarro asked about, that we know we need to invest in to really then bolster the whole program. So there'd be some combination there with the 100,000 that we would work towards.
Excellent. Okay. So we're approving the county executive's proposed budget that nets $75,000 increase with some shift, as Kathy laid out, of some moving funds. So, but that's where we are in terms of increase, and with the caveat that we're going to come back this summer to address additional supports that we may be able to create utilizing ARPA funds and other potential funds, and if not, just general funds if we deem necessary, to make sure that we're continuing to foster the movement of continuing to have English language acquisition via McHale. So is that clear with my colleagues and good to go? Okay, excellent. All right. Thank you very much, Ms. Stevens. Appreciate it. So we are on to our budget consent items. So these we can take on block, Ms. Chen. So we've got libraries, Arts and Humanities Council NDA, and the NDA for the Tacoma Park Library payment.
Yes, there's actually, I'd like to highlight Tacoma Park Library payment because we have two people who are joining us. Jessica Jones is the new director of the Tacoma Park Library, and Nick Fontum, are you here? I see you. I just wanted to introduce them. No discussion on the budget item. Just Miss Jones is brand new. She's a month into her job, and Nick is not brand new. Nick is it 26 years, Nick? I just wanted to highlight the fact that Ms. Jones is coming from a very extensive library sciences background from New Mexico and Texas. And Mr. Fontum is the first Cameroonian librarian I've ever met. So I would just like to embarrass you for a second. And that was it. I just wanted to make sure everybody knew who you were. So that's it.
Well, and I will chime in before you go, Ms. Jones and Ms. Fontum, Mr. Fontum, good to see you, Nick. I have 2 books in my car that need to come back to Tacoma Library, and my annual reminder that you cannot return Tacoma Library books at any other library. You have to take it back to Tacoma Library because I know every year we have that issue. It's though they are a sister agency, not part of the MCPL system, but so I'm going to bring those by this week. They're in my car, and it's nice to meet you, Ms. Jones. I look forward to meeting you in person.
Thank you. It's nice to meet everyone here.
It's a pleasure and welcome. And you heard from our lead for libraries who continues to utilize the system that it happens to the best of us. We all end up with an overdue book every now and then. So
and now we're fine free in Montgomery County. So there it is. You can return without impunity.
That's right. That's right. So we encourage. That's a great message to encourage folks. Even if you may have an overdue book, please bring it back. Let someone else get the benefit of the great knowledge and exposure that you've gotten via that book, and please bring it back so someone else can get it as well. So, excellent. Well, without objection for these that are on budget consent, I see nodding from my colleagues. And so I think, Ms. Chen, that completes our work today for our Education and Culture Committee meeting. I want to thank my colleagues again for all of their great work, as always, in one of the best committees here on the Montgomery County Council. Thank you, guys. Take care. Stay safe.
Thank you all.
On budget and under time. On budget and under time.